A random Tuesday in November usually feels heavy. The year is winding down, routines are set, and altering your behavior feels nearly impossible. Then the calendar turns to January 1st, or you move into a new apartment, and that friction vanishes. The mind wakes up. That friction you feel in November isn't a lack of willpower. The human brain is an incredibly energy-intensive organ. To conserve resources, it offloads as many daily behaviors as possible to a biological autopilot. Author Charles Duhigg describes this neurological offloading as the habit loop. This graphic shows how a behavior locks into your neurocircuitry. The cycle starts with a cue from your environment, which triggers a specific routine, and ends with an expected reward. Once this loop is established, the behavior happens without conscious thought. Over months and years, these automatic circuits stack on top of each other. The brain learns exactly how to repeat mistakes, skip workouts, or give up on projects. The sheer volume of these established patterns weighs down our identity, making the old version of ourselves feel inescapable. If human neurology evolved to strictly enforce automatic routines, we have to ask how any behavioral change is possible. Our biology actively anchors us to our past actions. Wanting a clean slate is actually a rebellion against our own neurological programming. Behavioral scientists call our method of rebellion the fresh start effect. We trigger it using temporal landmarks, such as your birthday, the first of the month, or a new school semester. This chart shows what researchers at Wharton call temporal self-discontinuity. A landmark date cleaves our identity in two. The failures belong to the past self, leaving the future self perfectly capable of adopting new behaviors. While analysts can track this effect in modern gym attendance and diet searches, human civilizations have intuitively engineered these boundaries for thousands of years. 4,000 years ago, the ancient Babylonians used the mid-March farming festival of Akitu to settle debts and make promises to the gods, forcing a clean slate for the entire community. The Romans later anchored the new year to January 1st to honor Janus. The deity is depicted here with two faces, one looking backward at the past and the other looking ahead to the future. Whether it involves an ancient ritual sacrifice or a modern calendar notification, the function is identical. A temporal landmark stops the daily minutiae and forces the brain to look at the larger trajectory of our lives. By stepping out of the standard daily context, the temporal landmark directly starves our established habit loops of the environmental cues they rely on. Yet, tracking data shows that 88% of New Year's resolutions ultimately fail. This chart reveals the problem. The fresh start effect generates a severe spike in motivation, but that energy rapidly fades. Motivation gets you started, but it provides zero infrastructure for when the excitement wears off. To survive that decay, you have to shift to environmental design. That means physically removing the cues for old habits from your environment and reducing the friction required to execute new ones. This introduces the biological counterpart to the fresh start, neuroplasticity. By repeating small, systemized behaviors, the brain slowly forms new neural pathways to overwrite the old ones. A new calendar year grants you a brief window of opportunity. Whether you actually change is determined entirely by the systems you build before that window closes. This struggle to overwrite our past has profound implications for human existence. It is central to the work of political philosopher Hannah Arendt. For centuries, the classical philosophical tradition fixated on mortality. Thinkers like Plato focused their existential inquiry on the end of life, leading to a focus on leaving the world rather than engaging with it. Arendt countered this with natality. She rooted her philosophy in the capacity to create, arguing every birth introduces a genuine miracle. She described the human being as an initium, a beginner. We possess the innate capacity to initiate entirely new actions. Setting resolutions on January 1st functions as a direct expression of our deepest existential nature. Drawing a line in the sand to begin again requires immense psychological effort. It is an act of profound resilience against the gravitational pull of life's routines and our own past failures. Overriding a failure requires an active belief that individual action still carries weight. This insistence on a new beginning preserves personal meaning against the threat of a seemingly indifferent automatic world. The human condition is defined by this relentless, miraculous freedom to step out of the loop and begin again.